So I've measured my top. For that gap there, I've set my jig 10mm back or 11mm back, whichever you want. Every jig's different, so check whatever you're doing. If you're new to your jig, what you need to do is you need to get some old tops and practice. And practice makes perfect. So I've drawn the line where I need to be hitting. My jig, I've set it back 10mm. I know that it's going to hit it. I'm going to route it off. You always have to route her. This is a male, and you always go from the left to the right. So because it's the left to the right, that blade spins that way. Now, if you didn't do it with the laminate up, and you did it upside down and did it, when that blade comes out, it'd take the laminate with it, and it'd split it. But because we're going into the laminate this way, it's going into it, and it's going to cut into it instead of splitting it. So we'll have a nice neat cut there, and we need that neat cut because we want a nice neat join. So nice neat cut, nice neat join, nice straight line. If they're not straight, what you have to do, you have to tweak your jig, and that does take a lot of practice, because the more you manipulate that corner, the more of a gap you're going to have. Because these jigs are for 90 jigs, do you know what I mean? You can take your grommet out and you can tweak it slightly, but you can't tweak it that much if something's out massively. Do you know what I mean? You'll never get it. You'll get a mitre on it and it'll be flat, but whether the joins, perfect, doesn't matter. So I'll just rattle this out and then I'll flip it up, put my bolts in it, exact same, glue it, and then we're ready for it to go in place. Forgot to mention, whenever I'm routering, I always cut close to this line. I cut it off with my circular first, as you can see there. So when I get my router in, my router's not struggling cutting it all the way through the worktop. It's only cutting half of that, and it's a straight edge what it's cutting. So I always cut it off, and then that way as well, note can fall. If you're trying to cut a big top when it's on, cut it off, it drops on your toes, not good. So I just cut it off, close to the line, upside down with my circular. Then when I get my router on it, it works perfect. Router's quicker, keeps your blade. Because I've routed it on this side here, really fine sandpaper. I don't like doing stuff twice, because it's this side already, this top, I just sand it down on top now, sand it at the bottom. Now that, see that edge, it's perfect, beautiful. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it up, put my bolts in it, and then I'll PVA, and then we'll glue it in. When you're doing your bolts for your male and female, sometimes it can be confusing if you're only just starting out with these. What you got to do is, the bolts there, bolts always go to the back. Just as long as them bees, whatever jig you use, they tend to be the same as this one, or roughly around that. But the bolts always go to the back edge. So on the female mitre, the bolts always go to the side edge and then the front. And on the male mitres, the bolts always go to the back edge and the front. That way them bolts will always line up. And if you're ever unsure, don't start routering it if you're unsure. Measure that, measure this, then make sure your jig's right, and then put it in. Otherwise, if you router it, I've seen them when I've been back to jobs me, whoever's put them in, they've routed it and they haven't been able to, they've routed it twice because they've routed the bolts in the wrong place. So when they've routed it the second time, when the bolts have tried to pull up and they've opened up, you see, and swollen. So you need it right first time. So if you're unsure, just measure it. It takes 2 minutes, like this. In fact, I'm going to show you. Watch this. All you do, go measure from that corner, 100mm. Measure from that, 100mm. If you're using the jig right, you'll always get it, but some people get confused with it and they might have it the other way around, which that gap will be wider and it'll still get 3 bolts on it, but it'll be a different spec. So you just got to remember these jigs, you've got to flip them up and down, And once you get to grip with it, just keep measuring it until you get to grips, and then you can't go wrong. Right. So what I do now is my miters, I always Evo it. Evo it. This, don't let water through. And like I say, if people let water sit on that top, it's going to find that joint. If we're Evoing it, we're eliminating the damage that the water can have. But like any joint, you only can do your best. I Evo it, both sides. I'll Evo that side, Evo this side, and then you've got about 10 minutes, and then I'll put them together. I put them together, bottom up. Make sure you get them right first time, because with this stuff you've got no time. Once you start messing about with it, you don't have any time. I always use a towel underneath me just to stop it. And as you can see, I put plenty on. Yeah, plenty on. Do you know what I mean? What are you saving it for? Christmas. And then scrape it off. You want it nice and flat. Don't leave big grooves in it, otherwise it won't blow up. See that? Beautiful, is that? Now that is just nice. Don't worry about if it goes on top there. So all we'll do is when we bolt it together, we'll just use some cleaner, clean that off, and it'll be lovely. Now I'm going to glue the other side, and then we'll give it 5-10 minutes, let it get tacky, then we're going to put it in place. I've got the bolts there already, they're sat in place. That's just going to lift straight on there. Bish bash bosh, bolt it up. Now I've glued the other side. My bolts are already in. Slide my top over like that. Nice and easy. Make life easy. That'll go straight up there, which I've hooked it on. Put plenty of glue underneath there. Plenty of glue underneath there. Could even have a cup of tea while we wait. If you're using Evo and you're not that quick at it, I won't give it too much time. Do it while it's still wet so you can move it up and down. We're just going to give it a little bit longer so it's tacky, so as soon as I stick it together it's stuck. Time is the essence. So while I've got 5 minutes, I've got my laser on. See my laser there? So I know the bottom of the worktop's going to go to there. So what I'm going to do, to make it easy, it's 30mm top. I'm just going to go through each side like that. Top. Drill straight through. That way when my top goes on, I've got the screws on the other side. I put some long screws in, straight through onto my top. Because this is going to be a dishwasher. So there's going to be no air. We can't put a panel there to hold it up. We don't want to put a bracket there to hold it up because it'll push the dishwasher out. So we'll screw it in there. Now, I'm going to put the top on. Got Lee? Yeah, you can do. Beautiful. Just tweak it out like that. So once you know that you've got it there, I'm just going to clean that glue off. This is the part where you want. Make sure that's in at all costs. Get your drill. I always start with the first one. Make sure it's right up. Once you've got the first in, then with a lot of tops, if the board like that there, you can push that up. Tweak it. Beautiful. That's what you want. Then go to your back one. Just visually have a look. Make sure it's cock on. Before I tighten the back of it, could do with just the cat's nads. Just have to grab something to hand, get it in there. Just prise it over. Make sure it's flush. See that? Flush. Make sure it's flush and then tighten the next bolt up. The back end now. Beautiful. See that? No lip on them. Once you find no lip on them, if there is a lip on it, just tweak it. Tweak it and then tighten them all up fully. And that's it. That's how I do your worktop. No colour sealant in there, no gap, or you can't get your nail in. Beautiful. Should we have a close up, Lee? And money. You see that? Look at that joint. Perfect. Right, and then this is how you can tell that it's a beautiful mitre. Look at that. Right across the joint. If there were a lip on it, that coin would just stay where it was. You like that? Like a dream. Beautiful. That's what we like to see. Level, square, nice joint. Can't get a fingernail down it. In there. This worktop's textured, so there's no lip on it. Beautiful.